Welcome to the SiteVisit podcast. Leadership in construction with perspective from the job site. With your hosts, Andrew Hansen, James Faulkner, and Christian Ham.
From the SiteMax studio in Yaletown, Vancouver.
Let's get down to it.
How are you guys doing?
Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, new year, new me. Not really. But it is crazy to think 2021 is here and 2020 is behind us. So definitely, as we all say, it's an interesting year to complete. Lots of good stuff happened. Lots of challenging stuff happened and a lot of change in our industry for sure. But yeah, it's exciting to get back on the show, highlight the year, and chat about construction.
This is different. Like, we're doing video here. Like, that's pretty. That's a whole new level. Like, we were just doing audio before. Of course, this is going to be on Apple and Spotify, but the fact that we're going to have this on our YouTube channel is pretty deadly. And it's not just going to be these. We're going to do some other content that's going to be kind of fun, so that everyone can get to know who we are, all our respective businesses and lives, and it's going to be kind of fun.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. No,
it's like the reflection of the year, right?
Totally, it is. And you know, it's good that, Andrew, you pointed out, like, 2020 was interesting, but there still are a lot of highlights, right? Like, I know you were crushing it with a lot of stuff. Things got crazy with us on the SiteMax end of things. You know, construction was moving the whole time, all over North America, and we kept moving with it, obviously. And so I think it's good to highlight a few of those things. But I mean, I think it's also good that we just say to everybody, hey, we took a break here from the site visit. We had to focus on some things over the course of the last 9 months. And I think it's been really cool. Every week we still see there's loads of people still downloading old episodes, people reaching out going, hey, when are you guys getting going again? Are you guys going to get guests on again? Are you guys switching it up? What's the deal?
Yeah.
What's happening? And I know, James, you kept sending me, man, people are still, looking for this content. They're still downloading it and all that kind of stuff. And I think that was just so cool. So I think we owe it to the audience and all the listeners and all the new ones that we bring on this year. Just a big thank you. We appreciate it. And we're looking forward to supercharging the site visit this year.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the Beatles. People still listening to our stuff. Okay.
It's funny you mentioned it, because even this week I was chatting with some potential new partners, and we were going back and forth, and the site visit came up, and there's just a conversation we're having, and it was a group that really loved what Caliber was doing. I think they were on one of our earlier episodes, and in the email exchange, I just fired over the episode and said, hey, check this out. Here's what Caliber's doing. And they loved it. Like, they were all over it. And I think it just shows that it's nice to have those conversations to be able to share within the industry. So it got me fired up. I know that's what we were talking about getting on today, but it's timely.
Yeah, so you also had some, like, so Christian, you were on the 40 under 40. You got that. You're in the big
Which one?
The big magazine.
Which one?
Which one? Andrews, you're the site partners OnSite one is the only one that matters. And honestly, that was a great initiative you guys put together. Seriously. And I know that's going to factor into a lot of what we do in 2021 is bringing some of these people on and continuing to do our interview series where we share stories of construction leaders, construction entrepreneurs, and the journeys they took. And I know that your initiative with OnSite there captured a lot of those people.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really a team effort. The idea came up beginning of 2020 with OnSite Magazine. It's a lot of the conversations that we have on the show is how do we celebrate our young leaders in the industry? How do we recognize there's some great entrepreneurs driving this business forward with the ideas they have, the businesses they're building? We looked around, we said, we're not celebrating these young leaders, so let's go to probably one of the biggest brands, or the only brand that's a real trade publication for the industry, which was OnSite Magazine. And we approached them, and over the course of a couple months, we said, hey, let's do this. Typical me, I underestimated how big the project was. My team said it was going to be pretty big, but It was awesome. The response was amazing. We got hundreds of applications. And to back it up, what we decided to do was create what we call 40 under 40 in Canadian construction. So the top 40 leaders in Canadian construction that are really pushing the industry forward. And as Christian holds it up there you go. He's on there in the wrap.
I was just trying to show the title.
And it was coast to coast, and we opened it up, and there was criteria for what's considered a top leader, and it was amazing. We got some awesome applications, had some, a strong judging panel from across the country, and selected our winners, and they were announced, I want to say in early mid-November, right, Christian? I think about that.
Yep. Yeah, that was the timing.
And then OnSite Magazine did their print magazine, which Christian held up there, and then we did a digital takeover, and it was our first time doing it, and was definitely received a lot better than we anticipated. And so we're super excited to carry that on every year and have some of those leaders on the show at the SiteVisit for this year. And yeah, it was awesome. A lot of work went in from a lot of people, really big team effort. David Kennedy, the editor of OnSite Magazine, here's a shout out to you. Awesome work. Aaron Candido from our team, doing all the copywriting, our web team. And that's kind of what it's about. So if you want to learn more, go to, I believe it's site40under40.ca. You can see all the winners, their profiles, the process. And that's the summary, but it was fun.
Totally. And I think we should get back to that in just a little bit. I think it's just a little housekeeping perspective in terms of how we want to even look at running the podcast and keeping consistency throughout the year. We want to be able to get people to know who we are. We run businesses in construction. We've got loads of customers who are part of our audience, who are part of our guests, who are just purely interested in what we're discussing. And we want to be able to provide a bit of a variety to those people and spice things up a little bit. We want to do more episodes where it's the three of us and even like a guest host on or something like that. Right. And then we can and hit a rhythm where we're doing that once a week, coupled up with our an interview series where then we release, we bring guests on, customers, people from the industry, and just those people. We get lots of people asking all the time, can come on, share the story and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's good that we dig into what we do and let our audience know, we're not just three guys that were like, hey, construction is kind of cool. We all have these really unique parts of construction, and the way that we all came into it is just also different. And I know we shared that in our earlier seasons, but I think it's good to just dig into that more as we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time for the past few months. Every time that we would go in and look at our statistics based on the distributor we have for the podcast, you had that guilt that you're not giving more stuff to these people, and they're still listening. We're like, wow, this is crazy. So, you get that, and we've kept trying to sort of get it together. And then there was the making sure that we could try and do this remotely, and making sure it would all work properly. And then some other podcasts have been coming up where there's quite a bit of video, as Joe Rogan's one is now only on Spotify, and you can't even have it not play the video when it's on your phone. Like even when it's minimized, there's still videos playing at the bottom. So that kind of changes everything, and it changes the fact that you're not just a voice anymore. It's kind of like when TV came out and took over radio basically.
Yeah.
So it is all about the footage and being able to see people in their live environment. We're like animals in cages here.
Well, it's funny too, because to your point, like people aren't driving as much. So where they listen to podcasts, it's they're working out, they're at the office. And I think what's even more important with the podcast, especially our conversations with the industry, is people aren't going to the office, not hearing the stories. They're not, hearing as much as going on site. So I'm excited about that, creating that community a little bit more digitally.
Totally.
Yeah. And being able to have
Andrew.
Sorry, go ahead, Christian.
No. Finish that one off. I was going to ask Andrew a question. Go for it.
Sure. Yeah, for everyone that's listening, there's a little bit of delay when we're not trying to step on each other. We're not all rude. There's a little bit of a delay, but it's all good. We
so Canadian.
It is so Canadian.
I'm sorry that
I think the cool thing is that because this is going to be audio as well through those networks like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The minute that you you hear something, you'll be able to jump onto YouTube and actually go to the same place time wise and be able to see the actual the same thing. But let's say that there's some kind of thing that was funny or someone's laughing their head off. You want to see what they look like laughing? Well, there you go. You'll be able to do that. So it's going to be kind of cool. It's pretty exciting. Our backgrounds will get better.
Mr. Ham.
Within a year, Christian's going to have probably some, I don't know, what's your background? You have palm trees back there, got some neon signs.
Well, I think I can already picture his background. On the left, he'll have his 40 under 40 from Business of Vancouver. On his right, he'll have his 40 under 40 for OnSite Magazine. Running out of real estate.
Oh nice. My goodness! I thought about we're doing a good blend right now with SiteMax of like in office and safely and also remotely. We've kind of created two hubs for the business, and one of them is in a space that's just being renovated right now, or just it's new construction, so they're doing a tenant improvement. It's totally like it's epic in there. It's like there's stuff everywhere. It's very much like a construction scene in there. I was gonna sit down. There's people walking around in there. It might have been a little distracting, but could have been pretty authentic, especially with the video going on. But we'll save it for a quieter day over there, I think.
So get this, I sent there's this guy, and as we all like to build things. Construction, everyone's kind of handy. One thing that's like super cool is like neon signs, right? Like the real authentic neon. Because now there's online, you see all of these, there's a new technology, which is essentially like flexible LED rubber. And you'll see all of these things on Facebook, like these neon, it's not real neon. Anyway, so for the different hubs that we have, the one in Cloverdale and the one in Yaletown, I found this company called Electric Neon, and there's this guy Robbie, super cool guy, and he's like old school making neon, like blowing the tubes and bending them properly and filling them with the gas.
Oh, sweet, nice.
So I got a quote. Get this, I got a quote for the word Cloverdale, like 10-inch letters. By I think it's like 68 inches, so it's basically 5.5 feet, and it was ready for this. Hold on,
15,000.
No, not that much. No, $4,200 bucks. But we're talking like with the little springs hanging off the wall, wrapped around with the big transformer, and it'll be like zzz, it'll do it. Imagine that. So. I want to get that for Yaletown and for Cloverdale.
I love this because like it's important for everyone to know that like we're all super different, obviously, and James this is his like jam, like lights and music and production and like all that kind of stuff, and your personality totally comes out, man. It's cool. It's really cool stuff, but I bet you that was something pretty awesome.
You're like, but yeah. So moving on.
No, not at all. Yeah,
I'm excited to see it.
You will.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
But yeah, Andrew, I was going to say, like,
do you know that it was super strange to watch like the past few months of in BC where we are, this the restriction kind of thing is. As Christian was saying earlier, we sort of just coasted through this thing. It never really got to a point where it was so bad that construction was on the taken off the essential list, right? And it was always considered essential, even anything from a renovation of a bathroom to building a high rise or an airport or whatever. But in Toronto, it kind of got sketchy there for a while, right? Close to them saying even some construction might have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think they're dealing with that.
Well, I think they're starting
now.
to say that now.
Yeah. So there's different pockets of this thing really where it's just been perpetuating and not necessarily getting better. But
well, to James's point, I just saw, I believe BC just released their COVID plan. And what I saw was they had a vaccination schedule for what ages, what conditions, how it gets rolled out. And don't quote me on this because I'm remembering from just looking at today, but the younger kind of generation, sub 50, may not be getting any vaccinations until this summer, right? So
Yeah, July,
when you look at those numbers, July is what I saw. So you look at those numbers, like people always ask the question, how much longer? And based on that, we can't obviously predict, but it looks like this up until the summer, right?
So what
I think
percentage
everyone's
has to be vaccinated?
I don't know. That changes all the time, and I'm so far from being any sort of an expert on any of that kind of stuff. But it's a significant portion of it. But from the sounds of it, like as we're talking to like customers and stuff like that, everyone's really geared up. 2021 is like it's an all year still dealing with the after effects and everything like that. So which isn't terrible. I mean, everyone's really dialed in a lot of their processes. Like that has been, I've never seen so many teams and so many companies in construction move so quickly to like improve the way they do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like for an industry that moves so traditionally slow, 2021 shocked people, kind of gave them a little kick in the pants they needed. And now everyone's like, okay, we got to go pro in 2021 and beyond. And I don't know, Andrew, with your customers, what have you noticed in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it there. One thing we hear a lot is, 6 months, we've seen 6 years of digital transformation in 6 months, right? In a lot of those key areas. So, rewind the clock 24 months ago, would people be doing this much, design planning over Zoom? Would they be doing this much project management virtually from home, right? A lot of the, credit to a lot of the progressive builders, they've adapted. I had a call with a client today, and more on the design side, and he said that out of his staff, he's seen a 20% increase in just work out the door based on being able to be focused. But no questions added complexity to projects, no questions added extra safety precautions and steps. We've seen a lot of challenge with moving site teams in between projects, right? So now you're having dedicated site teams per builds staying there. But it's, our industry is resilient. We talked about that. Being able to adapt to change is one more challenge. But for what we're seeing with our clients, it's just, adaption, introducing technology, a lot of communication. The projects, construction, it doesn't take a week to build a building. So some of these projects that take 2 years to build. So for the ones that have already been in construction, they've carried on through. I think where we've seen some slowdown is when projects were completed, projects were about to move either out of pre-con or into pre-con, and those have kind of stalled, especially like the resi side. Rentals are booming, but the high-end, condo market, things like that, have some question marks around it. But industrial, commercial is booming. But that's kind of what we've seen, and that's what we're hearing, just kind of secondhand and stuff like that. Similar to part of what you guys hear.
Well, I think it's interesting you said that like 6 months of or 6 years of technology adoption and happened in 6 months. Talking to one of our customers today, they're a large real estate developer, owner builder, and one of their heads of safety was like, man, I can't believe what I've been able to do as a result of everything we're going through pandemic wise, and I can't believe how everyone's come together. I've got our entire site, and this is an initiative that we're working on, James, with QR codes and connecting the entire job site through a QR code. But he went ahead and did it before we were even able to test it with him. And he's like, I've got everybody completely dialed in. I've never seen everybody come together so quickly. Not everyone's tech savvy, as we always talk about in construction, but man, oh man, people are pulling together and the difference that it's making. So, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that's come out of this, and I think that the construction industry will forever be changed. This is an inflection point in terms of adoption of tech and professionalism and all that kind of stuff.
What about for you guys, James and Christian? Like with SiteMax, have you seen uptick in activity? Have you seen? I know, James, when you and I were chatting last week, is you've just seen probably an increase in demand for people looking at SiteMax as a way to bridge that gap of connecting the field and the office, right? What have you guys seen?
Well, definitely you're seeing people get their act together, and it's really, it's made people go, okay, as a group or for every single company, like, look guys, we got to get ourselves together, because we have to start implementing stuff that has way more efficiency to it. Anything that was clumsy, anything that was like a process that was taking too much time or too much human power, as in people driving around, picking up paper, all of that stuff, that's done, like done.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see a lot of people just reaching out and saying, like, we've got to get, because one of the value propositions of SiteMax is, on the its very baseline is getting you paperless, like no more paper, like zero. So once you accept that that's a fact that you got to do, you need a system that's going to do enough stuff. So people would search on the internet and they'd find some of the real big guys, and they'd be like, oh, I don't know if we want to get into that. And then they would sort of see us, which is this sort of lighter alternative. And they're like, yeah, that seems like it doesn't seem like we're going to have to, hire someone to run this thing. You can just get going pretty quick doing a basic COVID safety checklist. And then knowing later, wow, I can upload drawings on here and I can do this, I can do that. Wow, okay, I can grow into it, right? Rather than, buying something super massive expensive you don't know how to drive, and then you look at the lease payment, you're like, oh my god, do I want this thing? So this is actually getting something that you can use parts of and sort of grow into it. So we have seen a lot of companies reaching out and signing up with us on even just basically getting going paperless.
Yeah, and that was a big part
of. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, it is. And that was a big part of, when's the last time we recorded an episode? I think we did. Was Rocky from Adira? That was July, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably Rocky's fault, right? Because it was such a good episode. We just kind of had to pause on that one. And Rocky bribed us. Rocky bribed all three of us. He said, what's it going to take for you guys to pause for a couple of months so my podcast gets a lot of play time?
Yeah, it's on the top.
Here's to you, Rocky. We're coming for you again.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads later, and we're still giving him the full airway. But yeah. But yeah, anyway, getting back to just even, from our perspective, navigating everything through COVID, there's the initial panic there originally in the fall or in the spring, and then people going, wow, we got to get our act together here through the spring and into early summer. Headed into fall, there was a bit of a pause in terms of people's uncertainty about what the future looked like. And I think as things kind of settled down, just, sure in North America here, but globally, whatever, then all of a sudden we were, my wife is coming in. Hello. We saw a huge uptick. Like the last 3 months has been a crazy amount of focus back into improving processes and going paperless and cloud-based solutions and all that kind of stuff. I think we saw our team maybe at the start of COVID, James, are we around 12 people, maybe 12?
Yeah.
We're pretty much double our team size. You don't see him here. Producer John joins the team, employee 20. And he's in the background. He'll chime in from time to time. But, just dealing with the impact of growth and the changing market conditions has been a crazy time for us. And once we got a handle on that, it was, now we're back here and it's time to light this thing up again. But how did the team evolve for you, Andrew? I know you guys saw a crazy amount of growth and your team changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about, all three of us talked about it. I mean, it's on the mind of most leaders over 2020. I think what's interesting for us is when we moved to remote work, because we had a culture established and we had a team, processes established, we knew each other, there was trust. It was really easy for us to move remote because we knew each other. We had that connection. When you start hiring people in a pandemic where you maybe have limited in-person or if any virtual interviews, and then you bring them into your team, they kind of step into this culture of not knowing exactly who you are, how things are done. I found that really interesting. I think we've hired 2 or 3 people now virtually or through the pandemic. So that was a big thing for us. And then how do we keep culture was always unique. We did a Christmas party this year, which was virtual. Kayla from our team, she's a big wine lover, and she really pushed us because we were like, I don't know if we should do a Christmas party. It's remote. She, got a winemaker and Mission, I can't remember, Mission Winery out of Kelowna. Anyway, they did a full virtual wine tasting. We had all 17, 18 of our staff on the Zoom and tasted wine and did some trivia, celebrated the year. And it was pretty fun to do that. But to your question of growth, yeah, definitely saw some growth, was able to hire some really good people, and the team excelled. Like, so proud of our group and, putting their heads down, and they understood that for a lot of our clients, it's how do we adapt? How do we manage? How do we change our messaging? It doesn't really matter if it's in our scope, if it's not in our scope, let's just roll up our sleeves and get to work. So, when you do that, you hopefully grow through that, which we did. And our industry, like you said, Christian, earlier, like we didn't, for certain builders, like they didn't lose a lot of volume, but how they worked changed a little bit. So kind of a long answer to your question, but proud of the team, excited for that growth. And I think culture's top of mind too. Like, how do we keep, for me, I think COVID's been a month, it's been 6 months. When you actually look back at it, we're coming up on a year.
I know.
Like a full year. We've had, you're celebrating employee year anniversaries and they've been hired in a pandemic. You mean, I've had, a lot of my friends have had kids. They've only been born in a pandemic. I think, Oakland, my second daughter's like 5 months now. Right.
Yep.
You just forget it's actually been a decent amount of time.
Totally.
Oh, for sure.
Something you said there is pretty interesting, like controlling the culture and then hiring people when you barely know them. You can't really get a sense of really when you said the fit. So it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, you might hire someone and you show up and they're like 3 feet tall. You're like, hey, I thought you were 6 feet tall. But you sometimes you can't tell everything. You don't know everything about each person, right? So, at one point it was, there's a guy that I think we used to work with you, Andrew, James, and it was weird. Like I met him when he worked for you, and I haven't actually seen him in person since he's worked for us, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, how's it going?
That is funny.
He's like, yeah.
He's not 3
like,
feet
you
tall.
stole my name. No, he's
definitely
how old
not.
is he? He's like, what was I, 6'4"?
He's taller than that. I think he's 6'6", 6'5". He ducks in some doorways. He does.
He does.
Does he? Wow.
Andrew, you touched on an interesting thing there, and I think James, you can speak to this because you worked really hard on it through the fall. Maintaining culture through, especially with construction and our teams, but maintaining culture through the pandemic when you're doing everything through video conference. Everyone's getting fatigued with certain things, but like how does a business even thrive when you're doing everything through video? But we put a huge focus on that, and I know you guys did too. But James, this was your thing. This is what you did before you started SiteMax. Like it was, this is what you did on the regular. Yeah,
I think that the most important thing for us and is like, who we are and what our character is, because the character gets you through anything. Like if you, there's a huge spectrum of the word, on the word character. You could have someone who's a complete weasel to the most honest person you can trust forever, A++. And, it doesn't, a lot of people that work for us are way on that far end of that positive spectrum. And, we solidify that by having some real things. Like, we did this campaign, often within promotion of a company, it's, you do advertising campaigns, you do brand campaigns for getting customers and keeping customers and all that kind of thing. But we did a campaign for our people, which was pretty cool. So like I have our book here. So we had these moleskin books, and you can see here.
Nice.
It says vision and methodology. So it's like, where are we going and how are we going to get there? And we had like all of our values and everything printed in the inside of these books. And we sent out T-shirts with the vision and methodology on there, and had it printed on there. And we all got on a conference Zoom, and we chatted about where we're going. And I think when everyone's sitting in their, in their respective areas at their home, and they're not getting out, and they need that extra thing to go, okay, yeah, this is why I stay focused and I do the thing I do, because there is a bigger picture here.
Totally. What's been some of the feedback from some of the staff? Like, I can only imagine, even for me, you wake up in some days and you're like, you're just trying to survive. Like, you're just putting your head like 2 feet up, but having even something like that to pull up that document and like just look and say, okay, I'm going to make a couple extra calls today. I'm going to drive. Has some of the staff given you feedback?
100%. I'm looking around the office right now. I see their books on their desks. They've got them front and center. They're using them every day. And I know that, how do our people feel about it? Well, as we were going through the middle of the pandemic, people were craving it. They kept asking. They were like, I know we're taking care of all these needs of our customers, but like, where are we going? It's like, hold up, settle down. Keep taking care of our customers here. It's like, okay. But like, I know there's lots of craziness around us, but where are we going? Where's our North Star? What are we doing? And James has talked about it. Like, he had some, core values established, then we kind of refined them together. And then it was, but still people were asking, what is it that we're doing? And so, a bit of a discovery brought it together, and the craving of this, especially as the team grows, right? People want to know what they unify around. Yeah. So it was a real a cohesive moment for the team, bringing everybody together. And I think doing that, and you said something really, like, you did that Zoom Christmas party. I think that a lot of times through this whole thing, we're like, oh, another Zoom meeting. Or for us, we had our bi-weekly town hall. We're like, but we can't knock it out of the park. We can't all get together. We can't bring food in. We can't do whatever. And we're like, but it's just the point that you're bringing people together, and that you're not ignoring the fact that, like, it's hard to create culture, but you're doing it anyways. And so, like, having a Christmas party via Zoom and spicing it up by bringing virtual wine tasting in, like, that's crazy stuff. But the memory that creates, as opposed to you just being like, guys, it's a different kind of year, we're not having a Christmas party. Like, that's the separating thing for a lot of people right now. Companies that are going to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the default, right? Everything in me. I mean, if my staff are listening to this podcast, which I hope they are, if you get to this point in the show, you can call me out next time you see me in the office. But, I didn't want to do one, right? I was tired. We had lots going on, and it was an easy, excuse to say no. And once we're there and we did it, it was awesome. We got texts from our staff. Spouses joined as well. And it was awesome. And head into that holiday season, it kind of, we gave everyone kind of the swag and some gifts and stuff. But I think it's tough. It's that extra little effort to push through. And like a true Christmas staff party, there were a couple people feeling a little tired the next morning. So it was a fun thing, and I think that's what's going to carry us. That's what's going to carry the group through and have some fun, right?
Did you there's something you touched on there, which is kind of interesting, that you're calling yourself out on that. You're like tired, you didn't want to do it. The interesting thing about business and the relationship between employer employee, COVID has given a personal, like, out joker ace card for anything they want to say no to.
Yeah.
Which is not right. Like, you can't run anything when anybody at any point can say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. It's like, well, yeah. Welcome to business. Business is an uncomfortable thing, like it isn't. I mean, as humans, we're designed to struggle. We're designed to have obstacles in front of us that we get over. Taking the easy road is, fastest road to mental death. Like, people need to know that. They need to know that, I've seen it when people, they retire early and they're like, oh, I kind of just want to take it easy. It's like, okay, well, life's going to show you something else. It's going to give you a challenge. It's going to put it in front of you, and you think you're going to have easy street. It doesn't work like that. So if you can put obstacles ahead of yourself, like you go, okay, well, yeah, there's a pandemic. Yeah, there's this, but I'm going to do everything that I can do and push down my own neuroses about what I feel. And just go, I need to pull this out for my company. And, like we made sure that we tried to make everybody as comfortable as possible. But the only way to do that is to default to the lowest common denominator of someone's fear. Hard to do, right? So suddenly now we're going to send everyone home because one person wants to be at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Because one,
I think,
yeah, it's
go
hard.
ahead.
Sorry, go Christian. Yeah, I was finished there.
Well, no. Well, I mean, I think we did want to make sure that everybody, was as comfortable as possible, but at the same time, moving forward in business, isn't always a comfortable thing. So now, and through all of this that we've gone through in the last 9-12 months, everyone's been uncomfortable, right? At certain points, stretched, pulled in different directions, dealing with things they never thought they'd have to deal with. So yes, while we try to create something where we're like, okay, we want to make sure we're listening to everybody and we're creating an even playing field and all that kind of stuff for everyone to be able to work and all that kind of stuff, we're now coming back going, okay, that's good because we do care about everybody and we want everyone to thrive within our organization. But now we're kind of like, oh, but to be able to go where we want to go, we actually do have to stretch. So, we are kind of like, okay, now what are we now going to be doing to just nudge people to, okay, if we can do something in person safely, which we can in British Columbia, we're allowed to, we will. Or if we need to go the extra mile a little bit, we need to do that right now. And so now it's coming down to, people are going to need to stretch a little bit.
Yeah. You make a good point too. And I think we've all talked about this is, some people, and this is general population, but also employees in the company, some are really comfortable coming in, wearing a mask, working in their workspace, having a routine. Some really aren't. And you got to juggle that, and you got to make sure your staff are comfortable, and it's a balance. And I think, it's not a simple fix because you want to accommodate, but and you want to deliver value to your clients as well too. I think one thing that came up in conversations with some of my staff earlier on the pandemic, and I can speak to this too from being a bit younger, is you kind of always expect to have a job. You always expect to get paid every second Friday. You always expect to have a great employee experience. And I think early on in COVID-19 crisis, it shook a lot of people. You had friends of friends that had lost jobs. You had that question mark of, what's our business look like? And I think that opened up, especially in the construction industry too, with these wages that are, well deserved, but high, right? You're making great income. And that question of job security, am I bringing value to my organization? Is my organization bringing value to their clients? And that those questions that may not have been asked as often, we're now starting to be asked. And I think that can be healthy in the right context. And it can be valuable for everyone involved too.
The vector that complicates everything is all the time, I think, is if you're doing a job you really want to do, you'll get through it. If you're doing a job you have to do, it's harder. It's really harder because, you might be wanting to do something, and there's a huge spectrum, right? When we've talked about this many times on podcasts, there's like, somebody who's gone through school all the way to be, to engineer how, airport runways are built. And they're doing that for, SMC Lavalin or whatever it is. And then you've got somebody else who is like, you know what, I need a job, and is in a muddy hole and doing something they probably would rather do something else. Doesn't mean they're not happy with the people they work with or the company, whatever, but definitely not plan A when they were a kid. Right. So then when you have weather, and then you have, now there's this COVID thing, you can go, oh, okay. Now the narrative is, if I don't feel comfortable going to work, I don't have to. Ooh, what's this? That's a new thing. No one's ever had that before. So then it's interesting. You start to see the character of a company. You start to see its true colors start to come out. You see whether or not, like, companies start to crack at the seams of what their people are really like. And the really great ones who have done a great job and have had great leadership, no problem.
Right.
Totally. And then there's other ones you're like, oh, the business kind of fell apart. It's like, well, it's a good lesson. It's a good lesson to have great people and great people who love what they do. And you know what? This is what makes things matter. Yeah, there are jobs that are dirty. Yeah, there are jobs that are not ideal and that not everyone wants to do. But if you work for a great company and you make those people feel special and you make them feel like they are making a difference, even the crappy job they got to do in the cold or the wet or whatever it is, and they feel valued, that's all that matters.
Well, boys, we got really introspective on this one.
Hey,
2020 was an interesting year.
Yeah,
it was. No, it's a good conversation.
But sorry if I can cut in there, Christian, too. But I think it's just good. I like the way the conversation went today, because it's going to set the tone for the guests we're going to come on board. Because like there's so many questions on so many leaders' minds, and like I'm excited just to unpack how groups have, communicated internally to what, example of what you guys have done, to hired, to, all the different, like there's so much subject matter that we're going to be able to dive into the next couple of months. That these are like rich conversations, which is super, super valuable, I think.
So what do we got coming up here for the site visit?
Yeah. So
Mr. Ham,
we're going to be doing, what's that?
I said, Mr. Ham, that's your layup.
Mr. Ham. Well, I'm always the guy who goes crazy about like, hey, what's the plan? Hey, how are we organizing this? Hey, we should structure it like this. These guys can attest to it. I'm always throwing out things there. And what do you guys think? But, we've all chatted, and we want to bring more personality to the podcast. And we want to bring not just from us, but also from our audience as well. Doing more roundtable stuff like this, where it's the three of us covering topics that are relevant each week, as well as I think it'd be really good to field comments and feedback from our listeners, to be able to take in questions and to also be able to dissect certain topics as they get provided to us. We don't want to be people who don't, have a pulse on the industry. Like we all do, like our businesses do have a finger on the pulse of the industry, because it's all our customers. It's what we do day in and day out. We've all been in construction in one aspect or another for quite some time. But to be able to bring in things from our guests and from our audience to be able to dissect and to throw into these segments here, I think will add a lot of flavor to the podcast. And doing that weekly, want to release these on Tuesdays, and then on Thursdays release the interviews as well. And that'll be a mixture of people that we did like kind of last year. We tee them up and share stories of people starting businesses, leaders in their businesses. And then, like we said earlier, bringing in 40 under 40 guests, creating a rhythm with that. And just building more of a community around what we're doing, getting way more active on social. As we said, producer John, he's there. He's going to be, in the background sometimes, maybe chiming in every now and then. I don't even know if he's really got I don't know. Who knows if he's around? But
we got the podcast guy. Hey John, can you fact check that? Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I love that.
He's like our Jamie.
Exactly. So we get he's like our Jamie. Totally. And but being able to tee things up and make sure that, as we're running our businesses, that we're maintaining a schedule so that we produce content and we release content on a regular routine. It's hard to get organized and do this, and but we enjoy it and we love it, and every time we do it, we get super fueled up and passionate, obviously. And so we look forward to maintaining that rhythm all throughout 2021, and we're really looking forward to what's going to happen in the industry in this year ahead, because I think we're headed for some pretty positive change and positive momentum, and a construction boom looming ahead.
I love it. So to recap, awesome interviews, great conversation, more personality.
Boom.
Love it.
More Andrew.
More Christian Ham.
More James.
More Andrew.
More James. More lighting. More neon lights. More glass. All that kind of stuff.
Hang on.
I think people will care about the things we care about, won't they?
I think so.
Andrew? What's unique? What's something unique about you that nobody knows?
Like a fact, or like something I believe in, or what? Something unique.
I don't know.
Don't talk about
Habits?
your toes. You only have like 3 toes. Don't talk about that.
Hey, I told you I had confidence.
His left foot is completely webbed.
Yeah. What's something unique about me? I'll have to think on that and come back. But
Well, I mean, James is like, okay, James is.
I can probably say I know the Frozen soundtrack off by heart now. That's probably
Andrew has
big
young kids. You do.
Yeah,
Andrew's a good dad. If you follow Andrew on social, because he's on Insta and he was always posting stories, always posting site partner stuff, posting adventures with his 2 little girls and his wife, and that's really sweet and it's awesome. And so I think that's really cool. And I think more people need to know that about, that's one of the SiteVisit hosts. And James is brand guy. He's music producer. He's got his own podcast. James has his own podcast. He does it's cool. Like, they're really, really, really interesting. Why don't you? Yeah. Like the guests.
You
Plug do your own individual one.
No, I'll get in trouble for that. But yeah.
Do you?
It's called the Social Ramp.
It's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, it's not bad. I actually did one last night. Yeah,
nice.
So, kind of.
Can you say who you have on?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of want people to know stuff about us. Hey, like last year, I think it was in the summer, Christian, you built like an entire like golf putting area in your backyard, right?
Oh, I am a golf fanatic. I'm not amazing, as James can attest to, but I am a fanatic. James is also a golfer. We play quite a bit. It's really fun. Andrew actually came out a couple times last year. He's a natural. And he's super competitive, so he's got tons of potential. But yes, one of my COVID projects was
that's what you'd say to someone who's not good.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy, this guy's got potential.
No, you've barely even gone out, man. That was like your first time ever going out.
I know.
You were like yelling and screaming and talking smack to everybody because you were hitting greens and stuff like that. It was awesome.
I had one hole. Par's a big win for me.
Oh, it was awesome. But yeah, no, James, you're right. Like, I'm one of my favorite things. From when I was a really young guy, I did a lot of landscaping. I would landscape for all my neighbors. When I was 12, I'd go around and mow lawns and rake leaves and landscape their garden beds. Did a lot of weeding growing up, man, oh man. And so landscaping was always a fun thing for me. And even when I was a project manager building buildings, when the landscaping goes in, for whatever reason, I always felt like once the plants and the soil is in, it's like the paint going on the building or the paint going on the room or the paint going on anything. The landscaping it completes it for whatever reason. And so one of my COVID projects was I built, let me post some pictures of it, but I built a backyard putting green and I designed it all myself. I built all the undulations and and I got all the material that Callaway uses for all their trade shows, and I geeked out over it. And so
hang on a sec. So your putting green has a break in it?
Oh, dude, you haven't even seen it yet.
Well, you've never showed me.
Dude. Oh, you have no idea. I designed the whole thing. I showed all the break and all the slope changes, and I researched online, on the PGA, what's the allowable slope ratings near holes. I dialed it all in. Oh yeah, man, he's perfect.
Yeah, I guess you can't have a break right at the cup.
No, you have to maintain with it. Anyway, there you go. I'm a golf guy. I'm watching golf scores in the background right now. So that's the other thing too about us, I think we're construction guys. That's what we do. But I think that even our audience, they're construction guys and gals too, but they also like other things other than construction. And I think that it's important.
You are allowed to, right?
Yeah, you're allowed to, not just like to, I don't know, swing a hammer or manage projects or I don't know. Yeah. Estimate work. You can do all sorts of other things.
I went to one of our customers and one of their field guys, and he's been super cool and awesome guy because they did some custom stuff on their system and he was really good with feedback, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna drive out to your site and I'm gonna take you for lunch. So I drove out, picked him up, dirty boots in my car. Wasn't happy about that, but and so he gets in the car. We go and have some lunch, and what a great guy! He started showing me his Pinterest board of all the super high end, delicate gourmet food he makes. I was like, wow, yeah, the guys, from SWC, amazing.
Oh,
yeah. So and then we just totally connected on the food front. It was super cool.
That's another note. I totally forgot. James is a complete foodie. He texts me things like this. He's like, look what I made. You'd find that in some sort of 5-star restaurant. Anyway, James is a foodie too. All these hidden talents.
I'll tell you a little story about that. It's kind of interesting. So we went to this new restaurant. I won't name it because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but new Italian restaurant, not cheap. And so we go there, and I went with Nikolai, our senior engineer. I took him for lunch just before Christmas, and I had this Arctic char that was insane. I'm like, you go to a restaurant, if it's not good, I'm not sure whether or not I will say anything. If it's good and then it's not good the next time, and it totally doesn't look like the last time it came out, then we got a problem, because then I've already sold it to other people. I've told them to go there, have the Arctic char. They get there and it stinks. That sucks, right? So anyway, I had it that time with Nikolai, and it was a 10 out of 10. I said to our server, I'm like, please go back to the kitchen and say, this is the best fish I have had at a restaurant ever, period. And then he's like, oh, thank you very much. Anyway, so I brought my friends back, a week ago, and we went there, and the Arctic char, I had that, and I was like, no. And it didn't look, and so here's the weird part is I loved it so much the first time. I pulled up my phone. I'm like, here's what it looked like before Christmas. What's this? And they're like, oh, yeah. I said, yeah. And I told you guys that was the best ever. And now it's kind of So what's going on back there? So, yeah. So the picture that Christian just showed was I done with it. I'm like, I'm just going to make that at home. And I made it for my wife and daughter. They're like, yeah, that was better in the restaurant. I'm like, oh yeah. So
I can vouch for it. I've had James recreate things before, and holy smokes, it's pretty incredible.
So there we go.
There
guys.
you go.
I'm actually getting hungry right now.
I know, I'm hungry too. Okay, guys. Well, I'm really excited to get back at this, and we have been. This isn't something that we were ever wanted to die. Again, the people that continue to download episodes, thank you. We want to, like I said before, completely supercharge this thing for 2021 and beyond. We want feedback. We want to know from our listeners what we can do that would make it, just that much more engaging to listen to and to, just to enjoy week in and week out. So James and Andrew, and Johnny D in the background.
Johnny D.
Hey, Johnny, you got any video for us so we can introduce you? Come on, man. Let's see.
That's introduced.
Where's the face?
That's our Jamie. Where's our Jamie?
Hey, there he is.
There he is. Hey, look at that slick.
Looking
look at
good.
those pearly whites. Holy. Okay. So
Jeez, what
for those that
toothpaste
are,
I gotta get that stuff.
those listening on audio, you gotta go to the YouTube channel and you gotta see Johnny D, producer John, and all of us and our ugly mugs. But my ugly
next
mugs.
to John.
These guys are next to John. But okay, guys, the next one, this will go out on a Tuesday. Next one will be an interview. I do believe we have our next guest, and we're recording early next week. And so these will go out Tuesdays and interviews on Thursdays. And John's going to make it happen. He's going to keep us accountable to pushing these things out.
Right on, guys.
We need some sort of sign off. We need some sort of way to just cap it. I don't know what.
That's the running joke. That's the running joke with every Zoom or whatever Microsoft Teams you use. Everyone does the awkward wave, things like that. No one has their token goodbye.
What did you always say at the end of our podcast? You're like, let's get to it.
I was actually thinking about that. I couldn't remember what I said.
Yeah, so. I think it was let's get to it.
James would set me up. Oh, James would say it. Yeah.
So why doesn't James do it, and then Andrew caps it off, and that's how we'll finalize episodes here.
But that's it. We got to do this is an ending. We do that in the beginning.
Oh, do we? Oh, this is an ending.
Yeah, no. We record the intro, and then I say, let's get to it, and then boom, it goes to the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. But who knows?
Let's coin it.
Johnny D.
Let's coin an outro. What do we got for the outro?
Can we do this on the fly?
Probably.
I'd say keep hammering, because that's construction, but that's also Cam Haynes. It's his podcast.
Your name.
That's his thing. So we can't take that. But you know what?
Let's put Johnny D on the spot.
What do you got, buddy?
Do it. What are you doing? All right.
Ooh,
let's get out of it. That's what he wants right now. He's like, leave me out of it. We'll figure out a sign off moving forward here, guys. But we're looking forward to 2021 here, boys. And
actually, why don't we ask our?
I was waiting for you to say something there.
Why don't you ask
Why
don't we ask our listeners? Maybe they can give us some feedback. What should we say?
Yeah, totally. Let's do it.
Let's get back to building.
Oh, yes. Let's get back to building. Or back to building. There we go. And maybe we'll just leave it with you, Andrew. All right, so great show, guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Andrew?
All right, guys, let's get back to building.
Thanks for listening to The Site Visit, a podcast dedicated to leadership in construction with perspective from the job site. If you like the show, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. To learn more, check us out online at thesitevisit.com.